Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I played it on the Xbox One, it's also available on the PS4 and PC. So this is the third game in the new Tomb Raider trilogy, and it follows Lara Croft once again, or else it wouldn't really be Tomb Raider, but this is a much more experienced Lara Croft. Jonah has once again stuck with her, and he actually is in this game a lot more than the previous one, which I really liked. I like Jonah as a character. You get to know a bit more about him, and of course, she is once again on an adventure and once again up against Trinity. This time, she is looking for a specific dagger and a specific box in order to prevent Trinity from basically completely altering the world. The combination of these two items would give them the power to change everything in the world. Everything. Anyone who's watched my reviews knows that this is about the time where I say and shit went sideways or went wrong. And man, does shit go sideways and or wrong, because Lara, while exploring the tomb, grabs the dagger out of the place that it is being held, and it immediately kicks off some apocalyptic level events. But of course, wouldn't be a game if it just ended there, so she has to go and set things right. She has to stop Trinity from finding the box. She has to do what she does, which is save the world. The audio in this game is really good. I love the music in this game. I love the sound effects in this game. When you are in the jungle, it sounds so good. When there are jungle animals running around and you can hunt them just by sound alone. Okay, not entirely sound alone, but you can kind of begin to pinpoint where they are via sound. That's always useful. You can also determine where your enemies are when you're in combat based on the audio alone, so that is a huge benefit. The only audio glitch I had at any point in time was there was one time where I was climbing something and I couldn't hear the noises of the axes going into the rock, which is something you would notice when it happens, but it's nothing that would really damage the game for you. The voiceover work in this game is really well done. The actress who's been doing Lara does a fantastic job. Everybody, honestly, does a fantastic job. It always adds so much when the voice actors do a good job. It just makes you believe in the characters and the story so much more, and this is a great example of that. As for the gameplay, this is hands down the biggest Tomb Raider that there is. When it comes to action, you can be stealth or you can be guns blazing, and that's up to you, and you can get all your weapons and customize those like you've been able to in the past. There's all the climbing, there's all the exploration that's been there before, but this time it's different in that A, the world is much larger, and B, there's just so much more to do. There's not just the tombs, there's not just a bit of hunting, there's not just the small things that you can shoot in the trees or whatever. There's actually side quests, there's a whole bunch of side quests. Pretty much every zone has a side quest. There's so much more exploration because the world is so much bigger. Each zone is so much larger than any of the previous games. Maybe I'm wrong about that, maybe it just feels that way, but it really feels that way. It feels so much larger, like there's just so much more to do. I will admit, it did get kind of distracting in this game. I kind of like the story being a bit more straightforward. I think they went a bit too far with the Tomb Raider franchise to the point where there's a bit too much side stuff to get distracted by. Not that I didn't enjoy it and I didn't enjoy going and finding all that stuff, but it was very distracting and I barely beat the game in time for the review. There's all the leveling up that there was previously, but they also added now there's a merchant system, so you can find things like gold and jade and sell those, or you can pick money off of your enemies and use that to buy new guns, new equipment. You can buy supplies for upgrading, all of that stuff, and that's kind of cool. It was different. It's another one of those things that makes the game a little bit bigger than I think it needed to be. And also, I want to address one thing when it comes to the exploration and just general like climbing, running, jumping, climbing, all that stuff. They added a new thing where you can basically climb on very specific rocks, but upside down basically, like on what would be the ceiling. You're underneath a cliff climbing this way. And okay, fine, whatever, I can kind of deal with that. There's a specific point where I just stop being able to deal with it because they just go, fuck physics. Physics is not real. It's when you're climbing like that, you're upside down, and then you jump a gap from one side to another, and that just doesn't work. They just throw physics out the window, and maybe a lot of people won't find that distracting. I found it really distracting because I just immediately, when it happened, went, that's not how physics works. Gravity, bitches. It's a thing. Side rant aside, I enjoyed the gameplay. It's very much what has been done before, but a bit bigger to the extent where it might be a bit too much for a Tomb Raider game. As for the controls work very well in this game. There was only one time that I had any real issues. And I don't know if that was really necessarily the controls, but I'll put it in there. It was when I was generally hanging on a cliff or a ledge or something and I needed to jump up to another one. Instead of jumping upwards, she would jump off to the side or jump backwards and do weird shit, even though I wasn't pressing in any weird direction on the stick. And oddly enough, when she jumps in the direction you don't want her to jump, it leads to death. It leads to death every time. But it only happened to me like 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the game, so it really wasn't that bad, but it was obnoxious when it happened. Otherwise, I think the controls worked well. I felt they were very responsive, I felt that the movement was very smooth, and so was the aiming. I think the aiming in Tomb Raider games has gotten progressively better as they've gone on, and I think it's reached probably its best point. Lastly, the graphics. Oh man, Tomb Raider games have been some of the most beautiful games this generation, and I guess last generation as well, but the re-released HD version of the first one was way better looking. Shadow of the Tomb Raider looks so good. I was really impressed with how lifelike it looks. From the animals to the hair to the pores on the skin, facial expressions, just every little detail is so well done. The world you're in looks so good. Just graphically, this is hands down one of the most beautiful games I've played in a while. I'm really just impressed by how good these games look. I also like that you can change outfits and whatnot in this game. I think they did a really cool job with that, making them fit with the world, as well as having some fun, goofy ones. Like, you can look like ye olde Tomb Raider from like PS2 and PS1 era. So I thought that was fun. I thought it was cool. I also liked that those outfits could affect your stats, get you more XP, get you more resources when looting things, etc. That was a cool addition. Okay, so to wrap this up, I think it was an excellent game. There were a few small things that I don't think were necessary. I think they made it a bit too big, and there were a couple of small glitches, but overall, I really enjoyed the game. I will say, I don't think it's the most brutal Tomb Raider game. I didn't feel like some of my deaths were as savage. That being said, I really enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed the previous two, this is a great third game. I could be wrong, but I think they were planning on this just being a trilogy on its own, and if that is the case, then they wrapped it up at a good point. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I can definitely see myself going back and replaying, finding all the stuff that I missed, etc. So I've got to say, I fully recommend this game. I definitely think it's worth it. Oh, and because I've bitched about this in the past about other games, Shadow of the Tomb Raider has New Game Plus, which I always love. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me if you ever played the first Tomb Raider game? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share or subscribe. Have a good one.